This is a cool sight. Right at the same point, change of season here within Denali is extremely quick. So we got our beautiful dwarf fireweed. You're going to hear water because I'm standing in a creek here. So after I get my boots out of it, this beautiful dwarf fireweed. And then right here, we've got our high brush cranberries. So those are starting. Now, the mountainscape in front of us is gorgeous. But up on the hill, first off, I guess I should show. Right here is a drop-off for the East Fork. And then so you can kind of see, so right there is the drop-off. And then the TWT turnaround is right in here. Now, this mountain we're looking at now is polychrome. And that bright area right there, that is what I'm going to try to show today. That is the construction here on the park road. You cannot walk the road corridor in order to get that. And so, off trail it is. And I'll talk to you guys in a minute. Now, this is also really cool, so I barely got anyways. You've got some more of our low brush cranberries going on. So you've got both high and low brush. But then right here, this beautiful bright spot is caribou lichen. Now, the caribou, they're able to paw through the snow really easy. So once this area is covered in snow, which looking at the area, it's not going to be much longer before it's just covered in snow. They are able to see through the snow. They've got somewhat of a thermal camera on their eyes, so to speak. And their hooves are really, really unique where they connect, disconnect. And so you've heard the old Christmas song, Up on the Housetop, Click, Click, Click. One of the things I absolutely love doing with my groups is messing up Christmas for them, because that click, click, click in the song is not referring to the footprints on the housetop, but rather for the fact that there's a sinew in a reindeer or a caribou's ankle that connects and disconnects. So as that guy is walking, it makes a very distinctive click, 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 click. They're really, really fun to listen to. Well, also their eyesight, like I said, is slightly thermal. And a fact I actually learned is their eye color actually changes throughout the season. So right now, if you were to look at a caribou in the eye, it's brown. In the wintertime, they're blue. And it's an adaptation for being able to see predators in very, very dark conditions as well as this thermal imaging that they're able to see through harsh snow and ice to find the food sources. Now, let's kind of meander here, but the other thing that messes up Christmas, since I'm on that jive, is both male and female caribou, as well as reindeer. They're the same species, just one is domestic. Both get antlers, and both of them start growing the antlers. The bull caribou, they're very blunt, very wide, and very big, because they're meant to impress the ladies. The female antlers are going to be much thinner, much sharper, and they're meant for more of the protection. Now, after the rut, the male caribou drop their antlers. The females, if they successfully, this is something to watch for. Bear poop. That's a small pile. That must have been a cub. I do know there's a mama with a cub running around this area. So it might sound silly of doing this narration, but it's actually a very, very worthwhile thing because, well, you don't want a bear to be jumping out. You do have a wildlife closure because first off, and then I'll finish the caribou. So, off right over here, there was a caribou kill. And so there are still bears in the area. I'm actually quite surprised that this was not completely closed to hiking, but I think for the most part, the bears have feasted and have probably moved on. But I just noted the signs are out there. And it hasn't been that long since the kill was discovered. But anywho, so the male caribou drop those antlers right after the rut. But if the female is pregnant, she actually keeps her antlers and has a good defense so that during the winter time, as the food source is scarce and difficult to get to, she's able to get that food. Well, happens to correlate with December, that those caribou still have the antlers. So the tour joke, I apologize about the corny joke, but the tour joke is that's why Santa does not get lost. Because all of his reindeer are female and are not afraid to stop and ask directions. Oh, God, that is beautiful. I hope that this is coming through with what I'm seeing. Yes, it's slightly rainy. It's a little bit hazier. It's cooler out. It feels like it's in the high 40s. A little bit of a wind. Not bad. But man almighty, is it beautiful today. I'm going to get some still frames of this. Text you in a minute. This wind's a little bit stiffer than I thought it would be. We've got a pretty flood. Oh. Upstream. I'm going to give him a minute. I was just going to start recording about the little bit of landstone. I went, oh crap, that's a caribou right there. That was pretty darn cool. He's still off in the distance. I might shoot this a couple more times. I'll be right back. Of course. As soon as I start the recording, that wind noise is going to be harder. So, this is the East Fork of the Toklat, where the caribou just was. That was pretty darn awesome. Like I said, I literally was gonna just do a quick little segment about what this water's doing and look over and boom, there he was. That was really cool. But typically the river is not this high. Typically it's a lot lower, and that's because this is glacial fed. We've obviously got some good storm going on, so it's a little bit floody, and hopefully the wind noise is not too bad. But yeah, that's what's going on. Rain. Talk to you in a minute. Alright, now it's going to be harder to see because, well, I'm using the wide angle. We're on the East Fork of the Toklat. But there's some clear water running into this nice glacier river right here. So if you're looking pretty much right here, the top line, that right there is fresh water. And so it's going to be a little bit warmer. And doesn't hold as much of the silt load that all of this is, which is why you're seeing the difference in the color. It's always really cool to see. Alright, so the thing I always laugh about tourists. You notice I'm completely surrounded by the Toklat. And now, I've been trying to work my way across without getting too deep. It's definitely a trick, because this section is going to be the hardest right here. The current is definitely producing a little bit of a channel. That's going to be up to my knees. So I don't know. I'm thinking I'm going to maybe work downstream just a shade and then cut back up, because just this way is the Pretty Rocks landslide, and I really want to see that. So I might be taking my socks off and just going for it. I can dry the boots out later. We'll see what I do. Give me a minute and I'll talk to you in a bit. Well, I tried getting across this. that outer current, so the one at the very far end, whoo, that's a lot deeper. And I didn't bring my hiking poles. So I kind of get thwarted, but I went a good ways. So right up to that shoulder right there, yeah, got up there. Been a good hike so far. Not a lot of wildlife, more of the two-legged wildlife, but very fun. Tucked in minute. Alright, so at the base of Polychrome Mountain here, and I wanted to show a couple of things about this, because this is going to explain what's going further on that way. Why I had that overexposed. Okay, so first off, distinct rock face, okay? Very, very sharp drop-off of the rock face. South-facing on the rock face. And you note the puddles of water on the ground right at the base of the rock face. So, the Polychrome Pretty Rocks area, what's happened is underneath this ground is what's known as permafrost. Let's see here. So I'm going to use, I'm getting cameras on the way. Give me a second here. Alright, I'm going to make my life easier. 5 seconds. Alright, I made my life easier. The camera's on the ground for a second. Alright, so this material right here will hold the ice or the cold really well. However, as it heats up underneath this, as you can see, it's nice and wet because we had a beautiful rain, but it's also nice and soft. So the heat permeates through this ground and allows for the layers that are underneath this to melt. And you note that this very easily shifts down, okay? Now, as this is melting, the road's built way up there, all right? So it's melting and it's shifting this material down, 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 down. It's what's known as a rock glacier. And it's very, very slow moving. There's permafrost underneath this material right here. And the immediate reaction is, how do you know? Well, topography of this land. You've got all of these peaks off in the distance with a little bit of new snow. You're at latitude 65. We're up above about 3,000 feet above sea level. And the temperatures in the winter average right around 40 below. And so almost continuously throughout this entire Toklat basin that we're looking at is permafrost. Well, these mountains love sucking up the permafrost because it grows up, forces that active layer up, and that nice ice hangs out right underneath. Well, as that shifts down, whoop, you got a landslide. And that's what's been going on the Pretty Rocks, which you see what it looks like right here with all of this multicolored material. It gets its name very aptly, Pretty Rocks, because it is a very geologically beautiful area. And then intermixed, I see some dwarf fireweed growing up on this peak side. I see a couple of willow shrubs some soapberry, and that's about the extent that my botany allows me to do. That's honestly my weak point. I'm not a botanist. But that gives you a perspective right almost near where the landslide is. I hiked over where I was walking in the river, but you can tell my boots are like super wet. I was up pretty far. I didn't even try to get all the way across the river. I was going to, but I was getting in to my knees, and since I don't have the hiking poles with me and I've got all that equipment, I didn't want to risk it. So they decided that safety of the equipment is also paramount. Does not mean I've given up. It just means for today I have decided to move back east. My group should be outbound. Today is the first time that my groups have not physically seen me in the park. They might have. I tell them how to find the red backpack, but I was substantially further off the road corridor. To give you an idea, now you can see this line right there. Now right there's the Park Road corridor. I'm technically still on the road. Well, the corridor, because it's right above me. But you cannot drive any further than right behind that hill. Which makes this moment even more amazing. Talk to you in a minute. Alright, so this is a much better example of the convergence between a glacial and a clear water stream. And you can distinctly see that nice change in the water. I think that is such the coolest sight in the world. Because you got this murky brown, and then you got that beautiful blue, which is the clear water. And off in the distance, it's not a perfectly triangular mountain, but it sure looks like it. And that is beautiful. This really gives you an idea of how fast our river channels change. Who knows if these dwarf fireweeds started in East Fork, but they're most certainly out there now. And it's pretty beautiful.
He's moving left. There's a big one in the back.
Yeah, that's a mama and two cubs.
Yep, 3 people.
Un virage. Une espèce de super.